Alright, I'm going to give you a little tutorial on how to kind of decipher the training paces chart that I gave you. If I did not give it to you or you lost the paper, that's fine, just let me know. I can also show you how to use it as well through Jack Daniels calculator. But pretty much this is kind of what you got from me. I did make some kind of like marks on the paper with the paces that you should be really looking at. So I kind of highlighted those right here as well. So this is just an example. This is based off of my PR half marathon time and kind of how I decipher my workouts as well if I'm training for a half marathon. So we'll start kind of left to right. We'll look at the top here first, and then we'll look at the bottom, and then that way we can kind of see how I get your workout paces and how you can get them as well. So just looking at easy pace. Okay, so based on an hour and 17 minute half marathon, my easy pace run is right in here. Again, I try to start off in this range here. I even try to start off maybe like 8 minutes for like my first mile. Then I kind of gradually get down to here. So you can kind of look at that, like your pace range. For instance, I did mention to some of you that the easy pace could look a little bit slower than what you're maybe used to, and that's perfectly fine. You do not have to, this is not set in stone, this easy pace. For the most part, I told people just kind of run as you feel. If that is like way too easy or you feel like you're crawling, by all means that's fine. Obviously your heart rate should be no more than 65% of your maximum heart rate, or that RPE should be no more than 6. Okay, so I know a lot of you, for instance, the easy pace on here was like up to like 11 minute per mile pace. I know you guys run much faster than that for your easy pace, and it's still easy for you. So by all means, continue what you're doing for the easy pace runs, but this is kind of where you can find that. I'm going to kind of skip down to the 400 meter zone here. So looking at based on that training plan when I had you do the 400 meter at mile pace, this is kind of what you're looking for right here, is at this repetition pace here. And I'll explain a little bit more about that, but it's going to be a little bit faster than this, and I'll show you what I'm talking about there as well. But this is kind of the number that you're looking at for the 800 meter. So you have 800 meter at 2 mile race pace. You're looking at like between this range. You might be more so towards the interval pace here, but you'll be somewhere in between those two numbers. And then looking over as you get in like week 9, for instance, you'll have 1200 meter runs at 10K pace, and these are going to be between like these numbers right here. You'll probably be somewhere in between the threshold and the interval workout here, but those are the two numbers there. As we look down a little bit into our kind of our pace calculator here, or our paces per mile, you'll see that once we get in the week 9 again, I have half marathon pace. So here's your number right here. Okay, so for me it's 5:52 per mile. So if I'm doing 2 times 1 mile at HMP or half marathon pace, you can go to here and say, okay, I need to run them in 5:52. I rest 1 to 2 minutes, and I do it again in 5:52. Okay, and if you're doing it on the track as well, you can also divide that by 4 laps to get your per 400, which is always very helpful to know if you're on pace. 10K per mile pace is right here, a little bit faster obviously than half marathon pace at 5:37, and I'll show you a little bit too on how I got to that pace for the workout. 2 mile pace, you're looking at 5:14, or for me, for instance, I'm looking at 5:14, and 1 mile pace for the 400s. This is our pace per mile right here, or my pace per mile. So based on that, I calculated about half marathon pace workout. I should be looking at, again, 5:52. That's easy to decipher there. When you're doing your 1200 meter workout, okay, so I went based on my 10K pace here at 5:37. My 1200 meter should be about 4:12. Okay, so again, that's in between those two numbers here, between the threshold and interval, because I want to go at that 10K pace for 1200 meters. That's what the 1200 meter time should look like that I should be hitting. Okay, and again too, if you don't have a track as well, you can always add this number up, okay, and then run for that duration of time based on that RPE. So I'll go back to here. So if I have you doing a 1200, okay, at 75 to 80% of your maximum heart rate, you can run that effort level, okay, for that 4 minutes and 12 seconds, or go based on the RPE scale of 6 to 7 for those 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Okay, that's another good way to kind of look at that. Okay, for the 800 meter workout, remember you're doing 800 meters at 2 mile race pace. Okay, so 2 mile race pace is 5:14 per mile for me. So my 800 meter that I'm looking at repeats is 2:37. Okay, and then same thing for the 400. If I want to be going 400s at 1 mile race pace, okay, I'm looking at 1:13 for my 400. If you'd like me to kind of decipher this for you to be exact, please let me know, and I can do that for you. Again, so if you lost your sheet or you didn't get one from me, you can go to Jack Daniel's running calculator. That is not Jack Daniel's running calculator. Here we go. You can go to Jack Daniel's running calculator, or you go to runsmartproject.com/calculator, and then you can do this. You can put in like a custom distance, which it doesn't have on there. So if you're looking at 6K, okay, and say your PR is 30 minutes, okay, you can calculate that. It shows you, oops, not an hour, 30 minutes, but 30 minutes. You can see what your pace is, okay, for that 6K, 8:02. And if you kind of go down, you can see those equivalent paces. So if my PR and my goal race paces, or my goal pace for the 6K is 30 minutes, and if I want to do that half marathon workout, okay, I'm looking at my pace is going to be 8:42. Okay, so I pretty much just copied and pasted these a little bit, and then 10K pace for the 1200s, 8:17 per mile, and so forth. Okay, for training purposes, again too, if you're looking at 30 minutes for your 10K, or your 6K pace, your easy pace is right here. Again too, that could be a little bit slower than what you're probably used to, and that's perfectly fine. Again, go based on how you feel. Looking at threshold pace for the 1200 and the interval pace, so you're going to be obviously in between these two numbers. For the 800, you're going to be in between the interval 352 and the repetition 340, and for the 400, you're going to be about 150. But again, too, I would definitely go some more on the pace per mile here. So if you're looking at 400 if you're looking at to do your 400 at 1 mile pace, this is your 1 mile pace here. You can then divide that by 4 for the 4 laps on the track, or for the per 400, and that should get you to your 400 time. Same thing with your 200. So if you're looking at to do the 800 meter at 2 mile pace, your pace per mile is 7:47. So you can definitely divide that by the 4 laps or per 400 to get your pace per 400, and then ultimately your pace for the 800. Okay, and then same thing with the 10K pace for the 1200s. Okay, so again, too, you can go to runsmartproject.com/calculator, or just Google Jack Daniel's V.dot running calculator, and then this will pop up for sure. It might not also be a bad idea to look at, so say for instance, if your current pace, or your PR pace from last season is at 30 minutes for the 6K, and say you want to be 29 minutes, okay, go in here and kind of see what that looks like. Okay, now I got to run 7:46 per mile, but now let's look at what my half marathon pace should be. Okay, I was at around 8:40 before. I should be looking at about 8:25. So you can kind of see where you are training wise, and based on where you want to hit your goals. So kind of play around with this a little bit too. It's very fun to kind of see where you probably need to be equivalent wise and training wise. But don't get too carried away with it. Don't be, like say if my current 6K is 30 minutes and I want to be down to 23 minutes, okay, that's a huge gap. Now you're looking at your half marathon pace per mile 6:39 compared to 8:40 from where you were. So obviously be realistic with that, but always let me know before you make a big jump like that, or a goal jump like that, before beginning your workouts. I would definitely start with your PR pace that I gave to you, And then if it becomes too easy later on in the summer, please let me know, and we can talk about where your goals are like, if you're ahead of your plan, and then we can kind of go based on that. Okay, so again, runsmartproject.com/calculator, or again too, you can also look at this and kind of decipher what your paces should be for those workouts.